Hello everyone, my name is Hannah Boardman and I'm the English lead here at Irlam Primary School. Today I would like to talk to you about phonics. I would like to talk to you about what phonics is, how phonics is taught and what phonics looks like in school. I will talk you through how we teach phonics and what the different phases entail. Okay, so what is phonics? Phonics is a way of teaching children how to read and write. It helps children hear, identify and use different sounds that distinguish one word from another in the English language. So if we compare the English language, the written English language, to a code, knowing the sounds of individual letters and how those letters sound when they're combined will help children decode words as they read. So as we teach the children the sounds that the letters make, they're able to decode more words. So, for example, when a child is taught the sounds for the letters t, p, a and s, they can start to build up the words tap, taps, pat, pats and sat. So if we look at the word sat, for example, we've got s, a, t, sat. So when we blend it together, it creates the word sat. Now, if a child memorises 10 words, the child can only read 10 words. But if a child learns 10 sounds, the child will be able to read 353 sound words, 4,324 sound words, and 21,655 sound words. That's why we teach the children phonics. Okay, so phonics is taught from nursery at Irlam Primary School. As soon as the children start school, they are immersed within phonics. They are taught phonics daily from nursery to year 2. And then in Key Stage 2, they are not taught phonics as a separate lesson, but they do still use their phonics, are encouraged to use their phonics all the time when reading and writing. So at Irlam Primary School, we teach the children phonics through the synthetic phonics approach. So the synthetic phonics approach is a method of teaching where words are broken up into the smallest units of sound, and we call those phonemes. So how it sounds is a phoneme. Children learn to make connections between the letters of written text, so the letters are the graphemes. So we help the children make correspondences between the phoneme and the grapheme, and the sounds of the spoken language. So children are taught how to break up words or segment them into individual sounds and then blend. So they'll do this with their reading, so they'll be able to split those letters up, they'll be able to sound them out and then blend them to make a word. And when they are writing, so they will say the word, they will hear the sounds and they will write the letters that meet the sounds, or they'll hear the phonemes and write the graphemes that match. Okay, so as I said earlier, phonics is taught from nursery. Now in nursery, we look at phase 1 phonics. And phase 1 phonics is intended to develop children's listening vocabulary and speaking skills. So in phase 1 phonics, the children are taught about environmental sounds, instrumental sounds, body percussion, so for example, clapping, stamping, rhythm and rhyme, alliteration and voice sounds. So we're not actually teaching children letters or how to read, we're teaching them to listen for sounds. So typical activities for teaching phase 1 phonics include listening walk. So I've got some pictures there on the screen, some children in our nursery on a learning walk, playing and identifying instruments, action songs, learning rhymes and playing games like I Spy. So they're listening for the sounds. It's building their phonological awareness, but not necessarily through looking at letters, looking at graphemes, but listening. What sounds can we hear? Okay, so phase 1 phonics is taught in nursery. Children embed phase 1 phonics in nursery, ready to progress on to phase 2 phonics in reception. Now, the purpose of phase 2 phonics is to teach the 19 most common letters and move children on from oral blending and segmenting to using grapheme. So they're using the letters. They're using what the sounds, the phonemes, look like. So on the screen, you'll be able to see my phase 2 sound map. So these here are the letters or the graphemes that the children will learn in phase 2 phonics. Now, by the end of phase 2, many children should be able to read and write some short words. Now, we call short words CVC words, and they are words that are made up of a consonant, a vowel, and a consonant. They will also be able to read sentences made up of CVC words or captions. So for example, on the screen, we can see here, pat a dog. Once the child has completed phase 2, they will have learnt the phonemes for all these graphemes. They'll have learnt the sounds for all these letters, and they will have learnt how to blend these letters together to read words. So a child will be able to read pat a dog. Now, the children also learn tricky words when they are going through phase 2, 3, 4 and 5. So the tricky words that they are taught in phase 2 are go, no, to, into, the and I. So when a sentence or a caption contains any of those tricky words, a child should be able to read those as well. So once a child has completed phase 2 phonics, they will move on to phase 3 phonics. Now, phase 3 phonics begins in reception. And the purpose of phase 3 is to teach children another 25 graphemes. Now, most of them are comprising of 2 letters. So they're sounds that are made up of 2 letters. Phonemes made up of 2 letters, so digraphs. Now, children also continue to practice CVC blending and segmentation and will apply their knowledge of blending and segmenting into reading and spelling. So at this point, you really want the children to start using their phonics to help them spell. So they will learn to read some more tricky words and begin to spell some tricky words. Now, the phase 3 tricky words are we, be, me, he, she, my, they, was, her, and all. So by the time a child finishes phase 3, they should be able to read and write quite a good selection of words with the sounds that they have learned and the tricky words they have learned. So once a child finishes phase 3 phonics, they will move on to phase 4 phonics. Now, no new sounds are actually taught in phase 4 phonics. It's more of a consolidation phase, and it helps the children consolidate their knowledge of graphemes in reading and spelling words containing adjacent consonants and polysyllabic words. Now, adjacent consonants are 2 or more consonants that are next to each other in a word. So, for example, in the word lost, S and T or S and T are adjacent consonants. They're both consonants and they are next to each other. Or in the word clip, the C and the L, the K and the L are adjacent consonants. Now, polysyllabic words are words that have more than one syllable. So a syllable is basically like a beat that a word has. So if, for example, we were looking at the word tennis, we will get the children to clap the word tennis and how many beats are in it. So, for example, they'll go ten-is. They will clap twice, so there are 2 syllables in that word. So, the children are looking at spelling words and reading them, spelling these different words and reading them. So, for example, words which begin with adjacent consonants, so str, thr, splr, and contain more than one syllable. So, for example, splashing contains 2 syllables. That's what the children are taught in phase 4 phonics. They are also taught some tricky words, as you can see on the screen. There are quite a few there. We've got so, do, out, like, have, when, some, come, there, little, what, said, were, and one. So they're the words that the children will be taught to read and write in phase 4 phonics. So once the child finishes phase 4 phonics, they will move on to phase 5 phonics. Now, phase 5 phonics is very vast. There's quite a lot going on there, and it is taught in year 1. Now, the purpose of phase 5 is for the children to broaden their knowledge of graphemes and phonemes for use in reading and spelling. So we really want the children to be using their phonics in their spelling as well as their reading at this point. Now, they will learn new graphemes and alternative pronunciations for graphemes. So, for example, the grapheme made up of the letters O and U, or O and O, makes a different sound in the words mouth and shoulder. So if we look at the word mouth, we've got m, ow. So it makes an ow sound. If we look at shoulder, we've got sh, ol, so it doesn't make an ow sound. So they make a different sound in different words. So children in this phase will become quicker at recognising graphemes and at blending the phonemes they represent. When spelling words, they will learn to choose the appropriate graphemes to represent phonemes and begin to build word-specific knowledge of the spellings of words. So we're really honing in now on the spelling side of phonics. Now they are also taught tricky words in phase 5, and their tricky words are could, asked, looked, Mr, Mrs, called, there, people, and oh. By the time a child finishes phase 5 phonics and they have learnt their alternative pronunciations, technically a child should be able to decode any text. They should be able to fully decode any text using their phonics sounds. So when children are in early years and key stage 1 and they're bringing home decodable books, once they have completed phase 5 phonics, they will no longer bring home decodable books because in theory they should be able to decode any text. So although at the end of phase 5 a child should be able to decode text using their phonetic knowledge, we still continue to teach phonics and we move on to phase 6. Now at this stage, children should be able to spell words phonetically, although not always correctly. So in phase 6, the main aim is for children to become more fluent readers and more accurate spellers. So they're still reading, they're still using their phonics skills and applying their phonic knowledge when reading text. And they're also looking at how to use their phonics with their spelling. So in phase 6, we teach children new spelling rules to help children become increasingly accurate in their writing. So on the screen, you can see all the rules that we will teach the children in phase 6. So phase 6 happens in year 2. So, first of all, we teach the children various prefixes. We teach the children what they mean and how they change the meaning of words. So the children will be able to apply the prefixes to certain words or root words. When we apply a prefix or a suffix to a word, we call that the root word. Now, when in phase 6, the root words, do not change their spelling when the prefix is added, but children need to make sure that they spell the prefix itself correctly. So, for example, if we look at the prefix miss, if we were going to spell the word misspell, the children still need to understand that spell doesn't change its spelling, so they still need an S at the beginning of spell, so it would have a double S in it, misspell. The prefix is spelled correctly and the root word. The children also learn of various suffixes. So suffixes go at the end of the word, whereas prefixes go at the beginning of the word. Now, when the children add the suffix, many words do not change, but some do. And the children at this point will be learning the rules as to when to change the root word. So when to drop a Y and add an I, things like that, when to double the consonant at the end. So the contractions that the children will learn, contractions are basically where we squash a word together. So we take a letter out. So I am, for example, becomes I'm, you are becomes you're. So the children need to know where to add the apostrophe, and they should be able to add the apostrophe when they're spelling these words in contracted forms. And we look at various homophones. Now, homophones are words that sound the same but are spelled differently and have different meanings. So we only have a very small selection of homophones. There's not a massive list, but these are the more common words that the children are likely to come across in their writing. So it helps to teach these words, as they're the ones that they're mostly going to be using. However, further homophones are taught as the children progress through school. So they learn a very small selection in year 2, but then in year 3, 4, 5 and 6, they are taught more and more. Okay, so in early years and key stage 1, children will bring home 2 reading books. So they will bring home a decodable book and a book bag book. So they're decodable books are books that contain either decodable or common exception words, meaning that children can read them using just their phonics skills and knowledge. So they don't need to use anything else to help read that text. It will only contain sounds that the child has been taught. If your child has not been taught that sound, it will not be in their decodable book. You would want your child to read the decodable book to you. You're giving them the opportunity to really embed what they've learned in school and apply their phonic knowledge. Their book bag book is more of a book to help make them love reading, to ignite that reading passion inside of them. We want all our children to love reading and have a love of reading, and that's what the book bag book is there to do. If you are reading with your child and your child cannot decode all the words in their book bag book, that is absolutely fine. That's not what it's there for. They may be able to read some of the words and decode them, however, not all of them. We would want them to be able to decode all the words in their decodable book, but their book bag book, not so much. Their book bag book is a book for them to enjoy reading with you. So you can read it to them. They could maybe read a few words if you know what they are. It is the decodable book that will help to embed the children's phonics skills, and that's what we want. We want them to embed it so they are secure and they can apply it. And the best way to do that is through practice. So that's why your child may bring home two books. One's decodable and one isn't. One is to ignite a love of reading. I hope this video has given you a bit of an overview about what phonics is and how phonics is taught in school. If you would like any further information, please email me. My email address is on the screen and I will help you the best I can. Thank you for watching.